All right. So, first episode of the shit show. I have to apologize to the seasoned vets only because this is a repeated story. However, talking with my producer, which put a pin in that, but talking to my producer, we're gonna retell some of these stories just because now they're going to be accessible. They're not going to be on Snapchat anymore. I am going to advertise for it. I may change the shit show to become maybe more of like the porn channel or whatever. But I'm not quite sure what I want to do with that. But it's now going to be on YouTube. We're going to be recording every Thursday. I'm not sure what date we're going to put it out. It doesn't matter right now, but recording date is every Thursday just so I can stay on schedule. But the first story that's going to be told is the first story I ever told on the shit show, one that's kind of near and dear to my heart, ironically, as odd as it is to say, because those of you that are followers of the shit show know that I am quite perplexed and off-put by this woman. She is the birth giver, my mother. Her name is Brandy. She was named after the song Brandy, You're a Fine Girl. Actually, I just realized I put a pin in something. Gotta go back to it. So I do have a producer. I'm staring at him right now. That's what made me think about him. We're going to call him Conjory because I'm a fucking idiot. And we're just going to forever call him Conjory. It's going to be the Conjory Productions. He's going to take care of everything. He is a neighbor of mine, a great friend of mine. I trust his artistic vision. My artistic vision combined with his. It's going to be a good time. You might hear him talking. You might hear me laughing at him because we are a couple of fucking idiots, but I love it. And of course, I'm getting a titty show right now, and I have to pretend as if it's not happening. So it's going to be a great thing. He is forever going to be on my show, be it via satellite, via whatever, however it needs to be, wherever we need to go. It's going to be a good time. So now back to the main shit show, now that I've covered all my bases. So Brandy, you're a fine girl. Don't really think you're that fine, but it's all good.
Your dad thought she was fine enough.
She was a cum dump, so that's different. But anyways, so my birth mom is a very interesting person, and one thing that she really wanted to do was get on reality television because she loved reality TV. It was oddly one of her favorite things. We loved to watch The Flavor of Love, watched all 3 seasons, even when something shit on his floor. Totally top tier entertainment. Love it. We watched The Rock of Love, which I rewatched as an adult. We also watched Double Shot of Love at Tila Tequila, or with Tila Tequila. She started watching Jersey Shore, all that shit. So she wanted her little 15 minutes of fame. So in order to achieve that, she decided that she was going to write into the Dr. Phil show. And so I didn't know about any of this until one Sunday night, which, side note to that, if I got home on a Sunday night at 6:01 when I was supposed to be home at 6, my mom was calling the police. Like, it was a fucking nightmare. Like, my dad was just... He was perplexed by the situation, but he just had to deal with it because if he didn't comply, it was her word against his. And we lived in a state, which I don't live in that state, so I feel comfortable saying this, but in the state of Iowa, they more favor the mothers than they do the fathers. So, even if the story sounds ridiculous, they're going to side with her. So she had a lot of ammo. So with that being said, Sunday night rolls around. He gets me every other weekend. It's his weekend. He drops me off at 6, as he should. And I live right next door to an elementary school at the time. And they must have parked over there because I didn't notice any extra cars in the driveway. Nothing like that. So I walk in, and there's cameras, boom mics, everything. And right when you walk into my house, there was a computer. So my stepfather at the time is sitting at the computer, boom mics, cameras, camera guys, the whole 9, cords running everywhere. I'm like, what's going on? Brandy runs up to me. What are you doing here? You're not supposed to be here. And I was like, I live here. And it's 6. She's like, you weren't supposed to be here till 8. You need to get into the basement and you need to shut the fuck up and don't say a word. Don't make a sound. No TV. Nothing. I was like, okay. So I just sat down there and I like tried to read my books and pass the time, but there's a lot of footsteps, commotion. There's a lot of shit going on. Got a lot of question. I was, I had to be like 8 or 9, something like that. So I was pretty young. You know, I wasn't like super old. It's not like I was 13 and putting 2 and 2 together.
But old enough to take care of yourself.
Yep. And
well enough.
When we lived next to the elementary school, I went to elementary school. Like, I only went to junior high for like 1 year, 2 years before we moved.
Gotcha.
Anyway, so I was pretty young. You know, I was no older than like 10. And so I was, you know, down in the basement just hanging out. And all of a sudden, like, it's like 8:30, 9 o'clock, the door just opens. She doesn't say, like, you can come upstairs, like, it's there, you know, we're done, whatever. She just says, or she just opens up the door and walks back upstairs. So I'm like a cat. I'm like, can I come out? Am I allowed to, whatever? So I eventually walk upstairs because I have to go get a drink. You know, I'm thirsty, I'm hungry, you know, whatever. So I go upstairs and I was like, so what was that? And she was like, what are you talking about? I was like, the cameras, like the people, what was that? And she's like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. I was like, what? I was like, oh, okay. She's like, yeah, you know, I'm going to go to bed, whatever. I was like, okay. So I thought about it for a while. Fast forward to Wednesday because my dad got me every Wednesday and every other weekend. And so Wednesday comes around and I'm like, Dad, what in the hell was that? And he's like, that's weird. But okay. And he just kind of put a sticky note in his head or whatever. And so a few weeks go by. I want to say like a month goes by, maybe a month and a half. And she goes, hey, it's your dad's weekend this weekend, but you're going to stay with him till Monday. So you're going to spend the night on Sunday, which was a very weird occurrence to her because she would never say that. Like, just to give my dad an extra day. She was a control freak. So she's like, you're going to stay with your dad till Monday. He's going to take you to school. You walk home because I live right next door to the elementary school. He drops me off. I come home. Obviously, I walked home, so I'm home before everybody. And, so backing up, she told everybody that she was going to California. Fine, whatever. I'm a kid. Nothing is raising red flags to me other than the people being in my house. And so, so she went to California. I went to school, walked home, and I get inside. Nobody else is home, but there's Dr. Phil swag all over my kitchen counter. There's like a mug. There's like notebooks. There's like pens. There's like all this shit. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like, what's going on here? And so, like, she gets home, and I ask her point blank, I was like, were you on Dr. Phil? She goes, no. We were in California, we walked around Hollywood, and we walked by the studios, and blah, blah, blah. As a kid, I obviously didn't know that they filmed Dr. Phil on, like, a lot. Like, they film, you know, Sunny over here, they film, you know, Buttfuckersville over here, they film this over here. And so, you know, they filmed different things, so you wouldn't have just had one show's swag. But I didn't know that, so she told me that and I bought it. And so fast forward to that Wednesday, I'm like, Dad, this is weird. He's like, that's weird. So this is back in the days of TiVo. So he sneakily starts recording every single Dr. Phil. So he sets the TiVo to record every single episode. And so one day, it's like 2-3 months down the road, he finally picks me up on a Wednesday night. He goes, I got it. I was like, you got what? And he's like, yeah, you remember how, because we had talked about how we thought she was maybe on Dr. Phil. I was like, I don't know about that. And he was like, well, you know, he started recording it. Didn't let me know, but he did start recording it. So, I go home with him, and he's like, yeah, we're going to watch it. I got it. And I was like, holy shit. Yes. So we watch it, and it's on this episode called Nuptial Nightmares. And it's like this one chick, and she got her wedding ruined for some reason. This other chick that I think got cheated on or something like that, doesn't matter. And then comes good old Brandy, right? So there's scenes from inside my house. I recognize my house anywhere. I could, pick it out from even now. I know exactly what it looked like, exactly where they recorded it, exactly what the house looked like, because I'll never forget it. But I see it all. She's sitting there with her husband. They're talking about how she cheated on him and how there's emails and how she was going to meet up with the dude, and they took a lie detector test, and she passed the first few questions, and then they stopped talking about the questions. So I think that they may have caught her in a lie, but they just kind of stopped talking about all of the questions, and they agreed to go to counseling. But she was on the show, and I fucking watched her with my own eyeballs on the fucking show. And then I never told her, but somehow she found out about it. And she's this type of woman, she's fucking psychotic. But she sent my dad a letter that said something along the lines of, I think this is inappropriate for you to show our daughter. I don't think she should be watching this type of programming. I don't think she should be participating in it, blah, blah, blah. And he just responded with, maybe you shouldn't have done that on national television. And then years later, he told me he really wanted to tell her, well, maybe don't suck dick on national television. I'm not the biggest fan of my dad, but I do love him every once in a while, and that was one of those moments. But anyways, I do still have the link. If anybody can find me that episode, get me a copy of it. I owe you a crispy 50. I've been offering it to every single person that can find me it, and even one of my best friends, her name is, we'll just call her Elle. How about that? She's a genius. She is fucking amazing, and she can't find it. She's scoped the entirety of the internet, and she cannot find it. So, crispy 50 to everyone who can, or anyone who can find me that. So, thanks for watching the shit show. Somebody knocked one off.